Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about I Believe in Santa. I Believe in Santa is an American Christmas romantic comedy that tells the story of Lisa, a writer who's tasked with writing articles about holidays and other topics for her company. One day, while attending a July 4th fair with her daughter, she meets and soon falls in love with a lawyer named Tom. Everything goes well between the two at first until Christmas season rolls around. Lisa, who hates Christmas, comes to learn that not only does Tom love Christmas, but to the point that he believes in the existence of Santa. This leads the two down a rocky road, as their differences will test the strength of their relationship. It wouldn't be a normal year on Netflix without at least one stinker of a Christmas flick, and while I missed out on a few in the past month, I don't think any of them can top this one. Not only is it another cheaply made, boring rom-com story, but it's so lacking in energy that it ends up being a bore to sit through, and that's when it's not being annoying on account of its overly patronizing take on Christmas. The female lead, Lisa, doesn't have much to write home about, except for the fact that she's, well, a writer, and is the same writer as any other rom-com with a female writer character. She struggles to write a piece, goes through a spiritual journey, and is able to write about that piece enthusiastically. The end. She does have something going for her in terms of the fact that she's a single mom, but this aspect isn't fleshed out much either. The two barely spend any time together, and the actress for her daughter doesn't even look or sound interested to be in the movie, so Lisa ultimately falls flat. The only other thing I could think of to say about her is regarding her unexplained hatred for Christmas, which actually is explained later on, but it still doesn't help. Her unusual hatred for the holiday season has no context at the beginning, which makes her incredibly off-putting, and even when the context is revealed, it feels more pathetic in approach instead of sympathetic. Lisa's blandness, however, has nothing compared to Tom's personality. While I did like Tom in the beginning due to his sense of humor, as time went on, his squeaky clean nice guy image became so grating that I couldn't stand him, and that's without getting into his juvenile obsession with Christmas. There's nothing wrong with being festive, but Tom takes it way too far. He's so unrealistically preoccupied with Christmas that he has a whole list of activities planned for each day of December, most of which aren't even shown, and the few that aren't even that exciting. It's the same sleigh ride and caroling stuff that's been done to death in countless other Christmas movies before this one. But by far the worst trait about him is his belief in Santa Claus, which is supposed to be the main concept behind this movie, and yet for some reason it feels barely explored. It takes half an hour for the movie to even broach the subject, and the way it approaches the reasoning for his belief is so intellectually insulting, I thought my eyes were going to fall out from rolling so hard. Before diving into this though, it's important to take a look at the relationship portrayed between Lisa and Tom, which simply just doesn't work. I had a hard time believing that the actors who played these characters were married in real life, because here they felt so awkward together. Their bond starts off interesting enough, if a bit cliche, but once the subject of Christmas pops up, it's all over the place. Lisa's hatred for Christmas appears and disappears at random, which makes it annoying to watch as things constantly switch between hot and cold. There's no consistent conflict between the two, so it's hard to care about what happens between them. But while their drama isn't very heavy, there's still this feeling of tension between them, though it feels more awkward as opposed to compelling. Their fundamental differences as characters aren't taken advantage of in a way that feels intriguing, and instead they just feel like a bad match that should never have been made. Speaking of fundamental differences, the whole Santa fiasco doesn't make any sense, mostly because of how extremely binary the two are with their beliefs. Lisa is unusually nasty toward others for liking Christmas, while Tom is unusually childish in his obsession with the holiday. There's no room for middle ground, which makes them dull and boring. That is until the movie starts veering into intellectual territory, which took me by surprise in the worst way possible. There's a few scenes in the movie that essentially serve as debates for the characters to justify their beliefs, which is fine in theory, except that the logic they use is ridiculous. The movie compares religion to Santa Claus and tries to take the high road by saying they're the same thing but also different, and that Santa is a more positive thing to believe in, yet adults reject it, and I just couldn't tell what the movie was trying to say. It gets so caught up in itself that the character's logic ends up spinning in circles and going nowhere. The movie even goes so far as to engage in Pascal's wager, where Tom says he'd rather believe in something positive and it not be real than not believe in something that could bring positivity. Promoting this kind of logic is insane, not just because it still fails to prove Santa's realness, but also that it completely ignores those who don't celebrate Christmas at all. On that note, it gets even worse with how it tries to use supporting characters to back up opposing sides. And honestly, they're not even characters so much as they're props, especially Asan. He's a token gay Muslim character whose homosexuality is never explored, and he talks about being persecuted as a Muslim despite no background info, and Tom being the only man who treated him as equal. The only one. Like, what? It's bad enough that Tom is such a schmuck in the first place, but to insert an LGBT visible minority with a legitimate history of persecution from a real religion and Islamophobes just to prop up some dude's obsession with Christmas is pretty bad taste, to put it mildly. I know I'm reading way too deep into what's supposed to be an innocent rom-com, and truth be told, I wouldn't have minded so much if 1, the main characters had any sort of redeeming qualities, and 2, if the movie wasn't so stuck up with itself. It all revolves around this idea of faith so seriously that it forgets to have fun as a Christmas flick. And that's the key thing to take away from this movie, is that it's just so boring to watch. It's mostly just characters sitting around, either eating dinner or making Christmas crafts, and not doing much else. There are some festivities here and there, and the decorations are fun to look at, but aside from that, it's a very bland Christmas movie without much flavor. It's pretty obvious from the get-go that the movie was filmed on a near shoestring budget. The production design has this cheap-looking feel to it that makes it feel inauthentic in its dedication to Christmas. Some outdoor scenes even feature green screen, and it looks way worse than it would have if they just shot outside, which they do many times, so it's like, why skimp out? Getting back to the entertainment though, the comedy fails to draw any laughs. The actors, with the exception of Tom, aren't engaging with their line delivery, and the movie just doesn't have any energy behind its gags, if there even are any. The only running gag I could think of was Lisa's habit of screaming in cars when she's frustrated, which isn't funny so much as it's irritating. And I know I mentioned supporting characters already, but they were just as annoying with the comedy as they were with the whole Santa debate. Sharon and Asan have nothing interesting to do other than be respective cheerleaders for Lisa and Tom. Asan in particular appears so often with Tom, it feels at times like the movie should be a gay love story about them, which actually would be kind of interesting. But as it stands now, the movie is a complete bust, not offering anything other than a clumsy and arrogant perspective on how faith brings people together. And because of how ill-fitted the two leads are for each other in the first place, this leaves the meaning behind its messages irrelevant. Overall, I Believe in Santa is a terrible holiday rom-com that doesn't generate any Christmas spirit, or any spirit for that matter. If you like cheesy holiday rom-coms and you're looking to fill up your viewing schedule, do yourself a favor and just avoid this one. Literally anything else on Hallmark Channel is better than this. The lame lead characters, lack of humor, and absurd central concept make it one of the most boring movies of its genre this year. I like to believe that holiday rom-coms can be good, but after this, I'm not holding my breath. What did you think about this movie? Did you hate it as much as I did, or did you find some redeeming factors to it? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of I Believe in Santa. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part where next time I review the Indonesian action movie, The Big Four. Bye bye!